segment. Today we'll be discussing teens and politics and the ways that we can get involved. So we've been talking a lot about how teenagers in general don't seem to be very involved in politics. Some see it as boring, as something that they can't really have access to. But in reality, it's something that we should all have access to and that we should all be involved in. Politics affects every aspect of our lives, and we should all have a part in changing that.
Well, to me, politics felt like something like for mature people, for adults. But if you're not very involved in politics, it just seems like overwhelming, something you can never get a part of, when really you can, and there's so many things out there.
Like you said, like, me, I really thought politics was very boring, but sitting here in this segment, I really understand, like, politics is just something, like, you have a voice in it. So if you want to change something, you have to speak out against it. If you want to change the way your school is being run, like, get a petition started. See what ways you can change your school. See which ways you can change the way testings are done. Like, if you're not good with handwriting testing, see if there's a way you can do a project so your testing can be good and angle how you learn and express yourself during testing.
Now, if we're going to send, let's say, Gary Winfield, who is our state senator in New Haven, Gary Winfield, Robin Fair, who is a state rep. There's Lamar, there's Roland Lamar, or Lamar Roland. I think it's Roland Lamar, who is also a rep. Senator Martin Looney. What would you say to them about wanting to change the way your school is, the education system in New Haven works? You know, what would you say?
Well, the way you told me, like, the way you learned when you were younger, out of, like, the U.S., right?
Out of Jamaica. Yes.
Out of Jamaica. Yes. Like, it seems so hands-on, and I feel like hands-on gives children a better way to learn. Because you don't learn anything just by sitting there watching the teacher write out the work and you just copying it down. It doesn't really sink into your mind. But if you're doing it...
It doesn't engage your mind.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, give you a chance to let it sink in. If you're doing it hands-on, you're learning how something works, how it's put together, and how you can solve the equation. But if you're just sitting there watching it, what are you learning? You're not learning nothing.
It forces you to really, you know, like, the opportunity is there when the teacher's teaching. Like, it's, you know, the expression, you know, you could bring a horse to water, but you can't make
force him to drink.
Yeah,
yes.
That's kind of what it is. But when it's a project, you're forced to, because that's the only way you're going to learn. Versus a teacher, you could, you know, choose to listen. You could choose to fall asleep in class.
What would you like to change about your education? So you're going to graduate next year, but what would you like to change? Let's say you had younger brothers and sisters coming up. What would you like to change, and how do you think you can use politics to change it?
It's like what Ashley said about the SATs, basically. Making them more hands-on. Because, like, it's like if you're sitting somewhere for a long time, sometimes you're bound to fall asleep if you're sitting there for a long time and you're just bubbling answers, like...
Yeah.
So, like, they should make it, like, more hands-on.
Yeah, so how are you going to get the politicians watching this segment to help you to change things?
I mean, like, I could write to them.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Or what if they're watching, like...
Yes, what if they're watching, you don't have to write and you can tell them no? What would you say?
We should be more hands-on during the SATs. Like, we should switch up...
testing in general, yeah.
Yeah, we should switch up our testing styles. Like, because, like, they should dig deeper into what some kids know, because some kids don't know the same thing. Right. Like, you should dig into what they really know and what they don't know and change up
and see how it can help them.
Yeah. And see how the difference can help them. It can make a huge change. Like, it's like with the SAT, you could score high and you get placed somewhere, but it could be somebody that's under pressure during the SAT and not score high, but has so much potential but can't get there because of
the way the testing is set up.
Yeah. Yes.
Not even just testing, like classwork in general. Like, if, like I said before, if you're sitting in a class for probably an hour to 90 minutes at a time, you lose focus at what you're doing. So your mind is going to start like, okay, what am I doing next period? Or I'm sitting in the next period again for 90 minutes or an hour. So you're really like, that's why I think a lot of people tend to drop out or fail in their school careers because they feel like it's not benefiting them and it's boring. And when you look at like other...
No, you said something just so important. They feel like it's not benefiting them. How many of you are... But you know, you're not a good group to ask because you're really hardworking kids and you know, you care about school and you care about the future and all this. You're not the best group to ask. But what do you think happens, why some people drop out? How do you know that your teachers care about your future?
How you know, the way you know your teachers care about your future is if they go all the way out their way. Like,
Because
outside
some of your teachers are
like,
here
like outside of school. Like, if your teacher takes you places outside of school and your teacher really digs into you and digs into your heart, then your teacher really is really there for you.
Like, that's how our teachers are, like, our school. Like, if, like, our math teacher, my math teacher last year, if you say you're done with your test, but you only did 5 answers, and there's, like, 50 problems, he's not letting you stop that test.
That's great.
He's going to be like, nah, you got to take it, you got to do it all over.
He will let you take that test for a week if there's 50 problems and you only did 5, you're taking that test for that week until you do all 50 problems.
Wow.
That test is not going nowhere until you finish.
And let's say that is Riverside Academy. Now, you have 3 of your teachers.
We have
or you
one
have
of
2
our
teachers.
Well,
Mr. Campbell.
We have our current events teacher, history, Miss Kelly, and then we have our math teacher, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, sitting out there.
Yes.
And someone else. Okay. Now, when you go back to school, after this experience, this is your first time on OneWorld TV program. After this experience, when you go back to school, what are you going to say to your peers and Mrs. Gibbs, your principal, about being able to have discussions like this critical thinker, or even go on to the board and, you know?
I don't know about other schools, but that's how my school is set up.
Oh, that's how your school is.
Like, if we need help with problems, the teachers don't mind staying after school as long as we're really focusing on our future.
That's great.
It's like, well, our school, we basically a big family. Like, it's way different from any other school. Like, it could be a teacher that could sit back, oh, I'm getting paid anyway, so y'all can do whatever y'all want.
Yeah.
For at our school, what do you think you're doing? Like, you gonna do your work. Like, it's like, there's no option. You're gonna get this done. If you don't do it right now,
failing
best
isn't an option.
believe
failing is not an option.
It's not.
Best believe you're gonna get this work done. Like, you're gonna get it done.
Yeah, I know Mrs. Gibbs is very committed.
I feel, based off of what you said about your school, I feel like the drive that teachers have to teach really is important because, I mean, in my own personal experience, I had this one teacher and they didn't really had the best resources to teach. Like, they weren't really into it. They didn't put everything they had into it.
What's the best resources? Their own skills or have equipment?
Or like their own skills and like their knowledge.
So they're not well prepared.
Yes, but and then another teacher came in, but she was very blunt about her words, but it got everyone like into it.
Got your attention.
Yes, and you know, when you have a harsh teacher, a really strict teacher, most people don't really like that teacher. That's
turn away from that teacher.
Yes, but like you actually feel that you'll do well, and it's just like whatever the teacher puts out in front of you, if you can really take that and like it really benefits you.
It's like you basically, my bad, but it's like you basically feed off your teacher's energy. Basically.
That's a good point.
Like if your teacher comes in,
he's saying you feed off your teacher's energy. So if a teacher comes in and seems, you know, like
your teacher can't just come in and seem boring. If your teacher's just sitting there, like sitting back, you're gonna sit right back too because you feel like you can sit back. But if your teacher is more enthusiastic and it comes in.
Like, let's get this work done. You're going to want to get that work done.
Oh, you hear that, teachers? Oh, my goodness. Your energy, the students feed off your energy. Go ahead, Rosie.
I just wanted to add something on kind of like where the teacher's energy can come from. And you guys, you know, you made a point about, you know, teachers, you know, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to go the extra mile to help the kids.
Because they get paid
They're getting paid.
Yes.
They have, and just kind of something I was just thinking about if officials are listening to this. And a lot of that kind of teacher laziness or whatever can come from having
apathy. Yes,
can come from having a strict curriculum, in my opinion.
Oh.
I just feel like if you give the teachers too much of a standard to follow, you know, you have to do A, B, and C. then they're going to feel obligated to stick to that, and it won't
So you
leave
think that
room
the teachers
to,
have more flexibility in how they apply?
yeah, and then that
the
would be able to, they would be able to interpret the lesson their own way, and that, you know, and that would make them excited about it, and which would make the kids excited about it, you know, and it would create variation. It wouldn't be like, oh, every kid is learning how
So
to
if
do
the
this
teachers
way.
have more flexibility to use their own creativity and interest, then they will bring more energy to the classroom.
Because that's kind of like my issue with Common Core. Common Core is very good, you know, for the students who are more of the underachievers, and it gets them on track. And but I feel like, you know, applying the Common Core, what happens is, or the experience I faced at my school is, teachers, they feel, you know, obligated, you know, and restricted to the standard, and they don't take it outside, and there's not a lot of creativity going on. And so I feel like if there's a way to kind of loosen these standards and these teachers can interpret it their own way, because it's you know, it's all about the practice and, you know, how each school does it. But in my experience in a school that's had this Common Core, you know, every teacher feels like they need to, you know, give the kids a certain series of tests, and they have to teach to these tests, and that's kind of where the lack of energy, you know, arises.
Okay, in the 3 minutes we have left, I want each of you to think very succinctly and use no more than about 35 seconds to say to politicians, teachers, anybody you want to talk to. Just say who you're talking to politicians, to principals, to teachers, to parents, to other colleagues. Here are some of the important things we want to say to you about education and politics and teenagers. Go on, who wants to start? You want to start? Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. I would like to say, when it comes, especially like to teachers, when it comes to teaching a student or like multiple students, don't just teach in that one way you were taught. Like, do your research, see how, like, look at charts, see how other students learn, and see what really gravitates to them. If they learn better with doing it hands-on, don't continue to have that child sitting in a desk just writing out their problems, because that's not helping them benefit in their future. And basically, you're not doing your job because you're supposed to teach them.
Okay, and anything to politicians? No? Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Oh, go ahead.
Well, to the politicians out there, you know, local politicians or state politicians, thank you, because I think what you do is so cool. But thank you for having the voice and the power to kind of recognize our opinions and bring them to the place where, you know, they can get change. And so I guess the big issue is that some kids don't feel motivated by school, and that could be due to, at least in my experience, lack of energy by the teachers, or a strict standard that needs to be followed, and standardized tests. I think that's the whole thing with America. There's too many standards in manufacturing, and any way to induce more creativity in the schools
Would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we're
sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so this is for teachers and politicians, but it's more on the politics sides of education. I think that it's really, really important for young people to realize how important politics is and how they can get involved in their communities. That means getting people excited about being able to vote. It means getting people to go out there and canvass. It means like making sure that your students are aware and informed of things going on in their communities, whether it be at the local or national level with elections and stuff. But just making sure that teenagers know that politics can be something that's exciting and important, and something that they can make a difference in.
And they should bring politics in the classroom. Politics can be a topic for creative discussion. Last word.
I think being a student, teachers, I think you should really, as others had said, you should really bring forth your effort, bring forth your drive to teach and have enthusiasm, and it really motivates us students as well, and it really helps us in the long run. And yeah.
Okay. We are out of time. I'm glad you joined us for this YouTube segment. These students are creative and dynamic and thoughtful, And we need to get their input more in the classroom. We need to hear from students, because if they're given a chance to speak, then they will go into their heads and find those thoughts that they want to express, and you will have more enthusiastic learners. I am glad you joined us again. Please visit us on Facebook, check out our YouTube channel, and get in touch. Let us know what your thoughts are. Thank you, Ashley, Kim, Rosie, Khadijah, and Mr. Daquan, a single male at the table.
Thanks for
Good
having
night,
us.
everyone.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Hallie.